Okay, so I'm back with the zebra, and the next thing I want to do also, really what I'm going to do is put the background head on one layer and all the features on another layer. So he's got a mouth and he's got some nostrils there. So for the nostrils, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to say stroke color. I'm going to use that X'd out no stroke color, and I'm only going to use my fill color. And I'm going to grab my circle tool, and real quickly I'm just going to draw a nostril, just like that, super easy. Select it. I'm going to group it too, because I'm not going to do anything more to it. So I'm going to select it, group it, and transform it. I'm going to go Control minus, and I'm just going to, oops, undo. I'm just going to roll it around like that. And see, like, you can't see really good. Sometimes you have to blow things up really big to see what you're doing. So like that, and then unselect it, go back, go back down to normal size, see if you like it. Definitely not. It's got to be way different than that. Okay. Grab my, that tool, and it's bigger, and it's also kind of more curved up like this. So it's kind of like that, and maybe a little skinnier. So I think that's probably closer to what it really looks like over here. Yeah, definitely. And then I'm going to put a nice smiley face line, and I'm just going to use, I'm just going to put a smiley face on him. Just gonna, now that's a perfect example of how we can use this smooth tool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that line I just draw. I mean, you could be here all day trying to draw the perfect line or break out the Beziers. Not in Flash, you don't have to. Take your smooth tool, couple of clicks, and look at that. Beautiful smiley face line. You didn't have to go through any drama or anything. So I like that. I think he looks like a nice happy-faced giraffe. Or no, he's not a giraffe. He's a zebra. Okay. Now the next thing we're gonna do, he's gonna need an ear. Okay, so I'm gonna have to draw his ear, and I think I am going to put that on a separate layer. I'm going to show you another really cool thing that Flash does too. So you think, well, I'm going to have this ear and then there's going to be this weird line there, but watch what happens. It's so cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to my this pencil tool. And I want smooth pencil. I don't want straight lines. I want it to draw nice smooth lines. Okay, so what does that ear look like? It's sort of a, well, a triangle would probably be okay, but let's just go like this. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, so now, but it looks weird. You know, it definitely looks weird. There's that other line there. But since that I've, oh, they're not on the same layer, that might not happen. Yeah, that didn't happen. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this. It's gonna be part of the head. I'm gonna say Control, because I like that ear. I think double click it to select the entire thing of what I just drew of that layer. Control X, cut. Come down to my layer of head here, head layer, Control, Shift, V, paste in place. Remember that. That comes in so handy. So now it looks weird though, but what you can do now, it becomes a part of the head because it's on the head layer. It's become part of the head. So you can just select this and delete it. And look at that. I love that about Flash. I'm going to say undo. This is a line and this is a line. Because it's been intersected, it becomes its own line. So that's really cool. I really like that. And I still have it on my paste board, so what I need to do, behind the head, I'm going to put my other ear. So I put a layer below ear. I'm going to name it ear. Here's my head layer. And when you select it, it turns to, look, I'll unselect it. If I select it over here in the layer name, it selects everything on that layer. So that's another way, if you're not sure what's on what layer, you just select it and everything, you'll see that it's. So I'm going to put another ear below the head because I want it behind. Okay, so here, I'm going to select that keyframe ear, and I'm going to say Control V, paste. So it's not going to affect anything on my my head layer because it's on another layer and it's not going to mess with it. And I could have locked my head layer, and you might want to do that, but I'm not going to. Okay. Now here's another thing. Cool thing about Flash. See, these lines are messed up, and we can't do what we did on the other one. But if you come along with your select tool, now see, I come near it. If I come near it here, I get the little round tool. That's to grab it. So I'm just going to pretend like I did, but I'm going to undo it. But if you come to the very end, you get a little right angle tool. that pops up. You can just grab the end of this and move it around. Really easy. So if you make a mistake, you can be like really sloppy in Flash and work really fast, but then you come along and you fix it up later. So it looks a little weird, but you know what? Why it looks weird is because this mane is missing. So once we get that mane in there, it's going to look really good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this head so far. Now we're going to go ahead and attach the body. Okay, I don't like that Flash makes you stay over here to the right either. That really bugs me. So we need to draw a neck and a general body outline. So I think what I'm gonna do on that, I'm definitely gonna put it underneath also. So that's my clip art layer, my very bottom layer. I'm gonna go, it always puts it on top. So I'm gonna go to my very bottom layer and come up to the next one. And I'm gonna say body. Name it body. Okay. I'm going to lock all frames now because it's getting down to where we don't want anything crossing over, accidentally something happening. If you come up here, you can lock or unlock all layers rather. So I'm going to unlock the body frame, and everything else is locked, and body is the only one not locked, so it's the only place to be, only where to go. So I'm going to select my first keyframe in the body layer, get my pencil tool, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just do a real rough, and it's going to be really rough because I'm using my trackball mouse. I don't have my drawing thing at all. And I'm not going to put the legs on. I'm just going to kind of draw like a round body because the legs are going to be put on later because they're going to have to be walking in them. Oh, that's just terrible. I can fix it, but that's just so far off the base that it has to be on Control Z. We're going to undo that. Okay, so let's try to do it halfway right. You know, doesn't have to necessarily be perfect. He's got a little chest coming forward like this and like this. And this hole needs to be closed because otherwise you can't fill it either. That's another thing we're going to cover. Oops, undo. Okay, didn't want me to do that. So let's just try selecting it and see if that smooth tool will fix it up. Yeah, it fixed it up pretty good. This is his body because the body's, I'm going to leave it like this because what we're going to do later is we're going to put the legs on another layer on top of it, so it won't matter. You will not see this bottom thing at all. And the reason, again, why I have to do this like that is because otherwise you can't fill it. I should have filled the head to show you. Okay, so I think this part that's under the head is not going to show. Now let me bring back my reference material, and now I can view it against a real zebra and see what I think about it. Now this neck has to be definitely pulled over more like this and more like that. I think what I'm going to do so we can get a better visualization is I'm going to go ahead and fill in my my head here. So I'm going to lock body, I'm going to unlock head, select head, and I'm going to fill it in with white for now. Obviously we're going to have to put some stripes in there, but and some things around the nose, but I'm going to just, so I've got my fill color, and I'm going to select my fill tool, or paint bucket rather, and I'm just going to say fill. So all I did was just fill it with white. I could fill it with a different color if so you could see yellow. See, it just filled it with white, and that won't fill because it's closed, but I'll do that later. Alright, if it's not a closed shape, then it won't fill, so that's another thing we have to fix. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back to white. I want it white background. And then I'm going to lock my head layer, going to unlock my back ear layer. I'm going to actually use my eye to hide my layer, and see the reason that this ear won't fill. It won't fill. I'm going to show you why it won't fill. I'm going to put it back to yellow. And it won't fill because there's no bottom on it. So I'm going to bring my pencil tool. Oops. And we're on the ear layer, please. Ear layer. And I'm going to fill it. I'm going to not fill it in all the way. I'm just going to show you something. So it's not filled in all the way. If you come down here, you go back to your paint bucket tool, there's a little circle thing shows up down here, gap size. That's another cool thing about Flash. So I look in here, it says don't close gaps, close small gaps, close medium gaps, close large gaps. So I'm going to say close large gaps. That might be too large, but let's see. Oh, it's too large. Because sometimes you can't see it. There's like, what's going on here? I can't see, maybe like that it'll work. But what it'll do, if you're trying to use the fill tool and it just won't fill, sometimes you press that close large gaps and it'll close if you can't see where the little hole is. So in this case, we're not going to spend all day on that. I'm just going to close it up. Make things easy. And then, of course, come back to the paint bucket. I keep calling it fill tool, but it's paint bucket. And then you can easily fill it. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill it with white. I'm going to take the eye off of my head so we can see it again. And there we go. That's looking like a pretty good zebra to me. This looks a little weird. But he does have like a belly coming down, and this goes up too if you look over. Look at this guy here. Oops, that was too much. Okay, so I'm going to blow them up, and I'm going to mess around and tweak with that some too. Again, these pointy things, I don't want them. Don't want those pointy things in there. We don't have to get too crazy. Yeah, but he has a really round belly too. So maybe we'll just try to make it round, and then we'll deal with that other part. Well, the legs will fill that in later. Again, he's a cartoon, so you don't have to get crazy with this. All right, I think that's pretty good. I think that's really good, actually. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to do a mane, but it's got to be done behind the body. Behind the body, in between those two layers is where I'm going to put my main layer at. The layer, not main, M-A-I-N, the mane of the beast here. So here I'm going to select my ear, and I'm going to say new layer. And I'm going to name it, I think it's M-A-N-E, right? M-A-N-E, yeah. That's how I'm spelling it today. So there, lock everything, unlock the layer, only the layer you're working on. That way you don't mess anything else up. So I'm going to come in and draw the mane. It's going to be in front of the ear, but behind the body. So I'm going to do it just like I did the other one. Start out with a rough shape, grab my pencil tool, and I'm just going to kind of go jaggy. I'm using a trackball mouse, so that's why I'm really not drawing really well. Normally, I have a drawing tablet that I use, and it's got to be a full shape so you can cover it, and there it is. Okay. All right, now the reason that you can see it is because the body has no color. So let's go back to the body layer, and I want to visualize it like it's really going to look, so I'm just going to select my body layer. I'm going to come to my fill tool, make sure I have white selected, and fill it in white. Okay. Lock it, and come back to the mane. Okay, so now here we go. How does that mane? It does start up like this, huh? Let me take a look at this. I'm going to blow it up and see if I can live with that mane. I think I can't. I think I don't like it too much. Let's fill it in with white also so we can see what we're doing. And it didn't all fill in for some reason. So this might be a case for close small gaps, or do I have it locked? It's not locked, but for some reason it's still on the body layer. So let's come to the main layer, select, and see. Okay, I'm going to undo that. See how you're over here, you can see the ear behind it? If I hit that, you don't see the ear anymore. And that gives you a better idea, like visually, what it's going to really look like. Okay, it's not too bad. I guess I could fix it up a little bit. Some of these, like, I don't want that goes down too low. And this one is too high. I might grab that and drag it in. So just kind of tweak it, mess around with it until you like it. If there's any of those weird things hanging out, select them and delete them. Like that. And actually, I think that might be okay. And he looks pretty zealous to me, or zealous. The zealot, whatever. Okay. How does that front look? The front kind of, he's got a mohawk. He's kind of got a mohawk happening there. Alright. Alright. So I think that's livable. I think I can live with that. So far so good. Our zebra's coming along really good. And the next thing we're going to do is add the legs. Okay. So let's see how we're going to do that. We're going to need some layers. Of course, we're going to need some layers. Now, if you were in 4 or 5, you'd want to use that bone tool. The stroke on the eye is so much thinner than the rest of it. So that looks funny to me. And what is the stroke on this thing anyway? I'm going to select the mane, and it's a 5-point stroke. I think that's just too thick. So what I'm going to do, I've been drawing with a 5-point line so you can see it, but that's really going to be too thick and look weird. Usually about a 1 or 2 stroke is a good line. Okay, so the 3-point stroke is going to work much better than that 5-point stroke that was much too thick. I didn't like that at all. But the eye still looks a little weird. So I'm going to lock all my layers, unlock the layer I want to work on, which is the eye. Okay, that stroke, let's try it at 3. Enter. Come over here. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so here's what I've done. I went through and turned the stroke down on all of them, and I think this is going to look better in the long run. Here's another thing I want to do. I want to eliminate that jawline in the face here. So how we're going to do that, I'm going to come back to the head. I'm going to unlock the head layer, because that's the layer. Make sure I'm working on the head layer. And then I'm going to blow it up so I can really look at it. And we can just get rid of that line. Now, it's not part of the body. It's not part of the body, so I can't just, okay, like for instance, I select this line and the whole thing selects. But how you can do it, you can take your eraser tool and disconnect it from the rest. This is another cool trick of Flash that I love. So this is, I've selected my eraser tool. I'm going to actually, and down here you have options of, and this is with your paintbrush too. Different sizes and different shapes. I want to go a small square. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to erase it. I'm going to erase that line. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just so that it's disconnected from the round shape. And then I'm going to select it and delete. Now look at that. Now you have this nice thing. Now you might want to go in, you can go in and clean this line up. Definitely. But I don't even think it's really that necessary as far as, you know, as far as this goes, because when we get the stripes in, you're not even going to see it. What happened here, though, is I did erase a little bit of that paint, that white filler, which we don't want to do in either case. So I'm going to come back with my paintbrush. I'm going to grab my brush tool. And here you have some options with your brush tool also. You know, you've got different sizes. I'm going to go with a relatively small size. And you have the option of these different shapes. I'm going to keep it to the normal shape. And I'm just going to paint that in with white paint. And I'm going to select again so I can see where it's gone. And then another way you could do this is put some kind of color panel behind it so it shows up if you're using white. Okay. Alright, so that should be okay. And I think I'm going to get off of there. And I think that looks a lot better. I think it definitely looks a lot better. And I think he looks pretty cool for a cartoon. Not too bad for a cartoon zebra. Okay, we're going to take a little break and come back in a minute and start on the legs.